Hello all. I'm starting out with this oracle card because I asked Spirit for an appropriate card as to the video I'm about to share with you. And this is what they came up with. It's called Morning Dew Girl. Face your fears, awareness, consciousness. The woman on this card collects fat raindrops into a basket of leaves. She is called Morning Dew Girl, and she symbolizes the receiving and absorption of all worries and fears. She invites us to start sharing our own feelings and worries. We can collect them and deal with them instead of hiding them deep inside. She stands resolute and strong, ready to face her fears. While fear can be as powerful as a river, once confronted, it may turn out to be as small as a drop of dew. Hi everybody. So today has been an aha moment, but it was an aha moment that was just the start of a process that needed to take place. And thus this video. Now, I'm going to show you this and start out with synchronicities. Yesterday, I visited my daughter at her place of work, and I wanted to buy something to support the business and support her. I bought a couple things, and one of the things was this cute little blingy box, and I do love shiny, blingy things. I didn't have any purpose for it in mind. And today, the purpose became clear. Synchronicity. There's something in here. And I will share it with you at the end, unless I space, which, you know, if you've watched any of my videos, you know is a very good chance I will. But I may play with it. You may hear clicking. I may be clutching it. To be honest, this is probably going to be the most raw video I've made so far. So I guess it's good that I have allowed myself to be fairly vulnerable in the videos before this, because they're going to be practice. I mean, having been practice for this. See, I'm playing with it. This is maybe not a good idea. Let me see if I can set it down and remember it. I have been under the assumption that a certain thing is this core wound that needs to be dealt with. And so I concluded that because it was related to my childhood, I needed to be doing some inner child work. And a few days ago, see, there we go again, the strangest thing. Every time I get on camera, I get these weird itches. There's probably something behind it, but I don't have time to tune in to see what it is right now. I decided I needed to do inner child work, and so I opened up communication with my inner child a few days ago. And as we were talking, she called me Mama. And I said, "Did you just call me Mama?" "Yes." "Well, you know, you're me, I'm you, you're just a younger version. Why would you call me Mama?" And she said, "Because you nurture everyone else that you encounter." Well, practically, you know, if I can't stand their guts, I don't nurture them, but you know. "Why don't you nurture us? Why don't you do things for us in the way that you do for other people?" Well, okay, good point, smart little girl. And of course, even though it's been a few days, have I done anything? No, because I don't tend to nurture myself, and I guess I've just been leaving my inner child out in the cold. Well, as it turns out, maybe there was a reason for that. And no, I do still need to nurture her, and I need to nurture us. But it turns out that there was something else about that Mama. And once again, my stomach is participating. You know, I got problems, what can I say? It's reality. So, how do I start? Really, I don't even know where to start here. What has been pointed out to me is the thing that I most need to deal with right now does have to do with her calling me Mama. but it really starts with my life in general being one of a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-confidence, a lack of valuing myself. And I know I've mentioned that before. That's not going to be a surprise to you if you've watched these before. But just very shortly, in my 20s, my self-esteem was so low that if, a man was interested in me, regardless of whether he might have been a good choice, I was grateful. I was willing to accept crumbs. And that was with the exception of one man that I actually lived with for 7 years. But, mind you, a man that never contributed to the rent. Really didn't contribute to the household. In other words, I was accepting a situation I shouldn't have, but again, grateful. And here's the other thing. Not one man that I saw during those years would be faithful to me. And again, that was okay with me because I didn't think I deserved better. Now the point. As I approached 30, I began to think, oh my God, my clock is ticking. Look at the choices I've been making. I want to have a child someday. Something needs to change. And it was almost as if when I finally admitted that, then someone came into my life and I met a man that I instantly was attracted to. And okay, yeah, in a lustful kind of way, but lust is part of life too. But when I met him, within a couple of weeks, I knew this was going to be something significant. And this man already had 2 children. And so when we got to the stage, we realized, we were going to be living together. He made it clear he didn't want children. No more children. He had his 2. That was good enough. And again, this is why I had to share about the lack of self-esteem. I said, well, okay, I'm pretty sure eventually I want to have kids, but for now that's okay. And when it gets to the point it's not okay, I'll let you know. We lived together 5 years. And when I was 35, all of a sudden it's like, clock went, alarm. And I told him, we had this deal. You made it clear you didn't want children. I accepted that. But I told you that when that changed, I would let you know I'm there. 35 freaking years old. It's time for me to shit or get off the pot. As it turns out, this man proposed to me and agreed to have another child in his life, even though he had not intended to. So I got married. And shortly after that, I'm trying to think how many months, maybe about half a year later, I got pregnant. Quit smoking, boom, just like that, had wonderful motivation. Started eating fairly healthy, quit drinking, all the pregnant stuff, but this was a dream come true for me. To finally have a baby on the way. About 2 weeks, maybe 3. I don't think it was a month yet. Something told me there was something wrong. I was spotting. Something just felt wrong. And I called my obstetrician's office and, said, I have concerns that there's something wrong with the pregnancy. And I was reassured that women often have spotting early in a pregnancy, and, keep my next appointment. There really wasn't concern. I have to tell you, even though I didn't realize I had great intuition at that point, certainly didn't acknowledge any kind of gifts, I just knew something was different, but I held on to hope so much that I was going to have my baby, and mothers are going to understand there's nothing like it. That bond. It didn't matter that it was just a little teeny whatever. I was talking to this baby and singing already and developing this wonderful bond. So about 3 months in, I think, my obstetrician finally noticed that I wasn't talking about morning sickness every time I was asked how I was doing. I was like, great, I don't feel much different. I feel really good. And she made the connection that really I should have been experiencing some of that. And an ultrasound was scheduled. When they did a regular ultrasound, the technician looked a little confused and said, I'm not picking up, what I would anticipate I would be at this stage. Something maybe with the equipment or whatever. It was decided that there would be a vaginal ultrasound, and this was a male technician, and I was like, not you. It also happened to be the husband of a friend of mine, so it was a double, not you. They got someone else, and the ultrasound took place, and I knew something was up, but still I held on to hope. I mean, this was what I wanted so badly. A few days later, I got a phone call and was told that there was just an empty sac, that the pregnancy had resorbed and there was no baby, and that I had to have a D&C to remove the sac and the things that had been retained. My body wasn't about to let go of this. Not after waiting so long. At this point, I'm 36, I think. So I went in. You don't need all the details if you're a woman and you've had to have this done. You know how it works. And so I had the surgery. So this is a loss that I was brought to my knees over. This was the reason I quit praying. This was the reason that I just about lost all my faith. Because I had lost this child that had meant the world to me, even though, I think when you look back at the medical stuff, probably when I thought something had gone wrong, this little soul had exited already, but I hadn't realized that. I'd still been building my bond, and I suppose I could have been building that bond with the baby in spirit. But the point is, I say that every time, sorry, it's because I ramble so much and I get off track and I have to remind myself there is a point. It devastated me. And, I didn't have any feeling of connection anymore to a benevolent God that I'd been praying to, every night for my entire life. Well, from the time I was old enough to be taken to Sunday school and taught how to pray. And I later learned that this was something I had chosen ahead of time, this disconnection with the support of God. And now see, a lot is going to be repeat if you've watched any of my videos before, well, some of them that related. I had 2 brain surgeries at the end of 2012. I didn't realize that I had gifts really until about 2 years after that. And I went through 4 separations before I got divorced, because it was very important to me that this man I had been with for, almost 3 decades remain my friend. And so, I took it slow. on my third separation, I was sitting in the living room of my apartment, and all of a sudden this beautiful burst of sunlight came in, and it was one of the first very clear connections with someone in spirit that I had and that I trusted. I knew I was talking to someone. I didn't know really how to do any of this, but for some reason I trusted. And so I asked, who this was, and I heard, your first daughter. Well, I lost that baby so early in the pregnancy, I never knew if I was carrying a boy or a girl. This was the first evidence that I had been carrying a daughter, and she told me her name. Now, I hadn't named her. I guess, this is a child I've had in past lives. At one point, I had named her, and she liked it. So she kept with it. It was a very wonderful connection, because suddenly I knew that this little girl that I had carried for just such a brief time was still connected to me. And I would get visits on occasion and know she was around, and I have a video actually. I'm not sure if I can incorporate it because it's on my iPad and this is on my laptop, but if I can, I'll show you just a little segment of it. She would usually visit me when I was outside in nature. Okay, this is going to be too much of a ramble, but I'm having a hard time condensing this down to the point. A couple years later, I started singing or humming this tune. It was very haunting. It seemed so familiar. I kept trying to think of a movie that maybe I had heard it in, but nothing seemed quite right. And for a couple weeks, this song was with me. And then on Mother's Day of that year, oh God, I just made the connection. Okay, I get it, because Mother's Day is like 2 days from now. Okay. Light bulb. On Mother's Day of that year, I was working on some things in the garden, and all of a sudden I started losing it, I guess you would say. I just started sobbing. Something about the song struck something within me, and my daughter in spirit came to me then, and she said, Mama, this had to happen because you never allowed yourself to fully grieve my loss. Now, mind you, this is 20 years later at this point. And I had been keeping everything in and trying to be stoic. And, people say really stupid things to you when you lose a baby, when you have a miscarriage. There had been some very stupid things. I had just kind of never forgotten, but just never really grieved. It was, practically collapsed into the dirt of the garden, sobbing. And I thought I had dealt with that finally then. I saw the point of it. It was just being brought to release this, or at least face that the grief was still with me after all these years. And then I thought it was done. But it has occurred to me that I haven't had much of a connection with my daughter lately. To be honest, I know I'm always connected, but I just have lost a lot of feeling of being connected lately, and I know it's all leading up to this. So today I learned that the wound I most need to heal is still the loss of my baby. Very clearly pointed out to me. And it was also pointed out to me that because I haven't dealt with my grief yet, I have built up this huge wall against ever loving anyone as much as I love that baby. And of course, by now if you've watched my videos, my connection to the divine came back. And, I've been feeling disconnected just because I've been going through a bunch of crap. But at least I know this is still around me. I'm just not allowing myself to access it. Where before, when I lost my baby, it was like, I'm not sure any of this is even real. Maybe this has all been bullshit. Certainly I did not see this as a benevolent God. Back then I was always in victim mode. I didn't understand the metaphysical concepts of, we're not victims, we create our own realities. But the other connection I made today is that it explains why I still have this distrust that the universe will take care of me, because being pregnant was the most important thing to me in my life, and it was snatched away. So I deal with a lot of fear still, and it is that, oh yeah, I'm supposed to trust you, universe? And never made the connection that the reason I couldn't fully trust is because I felt utterly betrayed. Again, not realizing that there must have been something I did to bring it toward me. And I do believe that we plan out our lives and our lessons before each life. So I'm not releasing my responsibility. I'm just saying I didn't understand any of it back then. I wasn't metaphysical at all back then. So it does explain why I can't just let go with the flow and trust that I will always be taken care of, because it went with something that's been a theme throughout most of my life. Betrayal. I felt betrayed. I understand now the universe would never betray me. I understand now that I probably laid all this out. As I said, I learned that, feeling totally disconnected from God was something I had planned. So I know all of this has been laid out by me, and I can't be saying, oh my God, I've been so screwed over. I have to take accountability for that. But it does explain. There's a damn itch again. How strange is this? It does explain why even someone as enlightened as I am, and knowing all these things intellectually, why I have not been able to fully trust. And why I always believe, sure, things will go okay for a while, but then they'll turn to shit. It was a huge aha moment. And honestly, I haven't taken the time to collapse. I'm not sure how I'm going to actually finish this grieving process. I'm not sure anyone ever can finish grieving, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not sure how to go about healing this, because I'm still closed off to it. I haven't taken those 2 other walls or 10 other walls or however many more there are down yet, because I try to do these videos when things are fresh in my mind, and you can see why I'm all over the place. I think I tracked enough on this one. But I guess, rather than me just, vomiting out all this information for no good reason, what I would share is, the stuff does come up when we're ready to deal with it. The stuff does come up when we will have come in what needs to be revealed, what still needs to be healed. And I know this is a huge one for me. I don't know how to get through it now, honestly. And I will ask for assistance from the divine. I really have no clue. But when this stuff comes up to you, know that it's given to you because you're strong enough to handle it. It's given to you now because you will figure out how to deal with it. And please consider not sweeping it under the rug again, because divine timing is way smarter than us. I guess I'll say that, you know. The divine knows what it's doing. That's why the timing is what it is. So if you have stuff come up, trust that they know what they're doing. Because though I did have my distrust, you know, deep down I know that it's all for a reason and that it happens when it is supposed to happen. And I can't back this yet with my own experiences about trusting the universe fully, because obviously I'm still struggling with this. It explains so much of my fear. And, you know, I'll figure this out with the help of the divine. All I can say is everything in my being, if I can get past my fear, says, just trust. It's all as it is supposed to be. It doesn't mean it's not without pain. You know, pain is part of how we learn and grow. And we are here to grow, people. It's not to be happy. That's not the goal. That would be a nice benefit, and that's a nice perk. But why we are here is to figure out how to go from fear to love. That's it. And that takes a lot of learning along the way. It takes a lot of lessons. It takes a lot of pain, unfortunately. But the less we resist, the easier we make it on ourselves. And of course, that's not me, because I'm a stubborn cuss and I fight the whole way. That was a damn lot of rambling, and I'm sorry about that. I think, oh, something just popped up on my computer. It distracted me. Not hard to do. I think there were some points in there. But I guess I do want to say to any moms who have lost their children, I do understand the way you have felt and the feeling of never being complete after that. And so I want you to know, you're not alone in how you feel. I get it. Have I survived it? Yeah, I've survived it, and so have you. You know, have we survived it without some pretty deep scars? No, not so much. Can they be healed? Maybe never fully. Maybe there will never be a point that I can talk about this without tears coming to my eyes, no matter how freaking old I get. I'm not sure. But can it get better? Yeah. Especially when we quit denying that we hurt so much and start dealing with it. Do our grieving. Alright, guys. You feel like I should apologize, but you know, we should never have to apologize for being authentic, and we should never have to apologize when it's an effort to help others. That's my thought. I'm gonna quit now. Thank you for listening. If you hung in here, you know you deserve a medal. Take care. Bye-bye. But it just dawned on me after I finished the video that I never explained this. Okay, my little box that I found yesterday, my little blingy box that I didn't really have a reason to buy, but did. And so what's in here, I'm not sure if you can see, is a stone called a golden healer. And it's in my little treasure box now. I'm going to be working with pouring out my heart owies, I guess you could say, into the stone. And that is part of what I'm going to do to, you know, process this finally. As much as it allows itself to be processed. Could be total bullshit, it's just my idea, but you know, intention is everything, and I totally forgot about it. So I guess I do have a little bit of a game plan, I just didn't remember that I did. Okay, now I'm done. Thank you for listening to me.